Hi, my name is Damon Brown of DamonBrown.net. My thing is helping you as a solopreneur, as a side hustler, or as otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. Today we're going to talk about Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and the insight that Bill Gates actually learned from his mentor, Warren Buffett. Bill Gates, of course, co-founder of Microsoft, now a philanthropist and a billionaire, at least at this point, because he's given away most of his money to charity. And Warren Buffett, one of the most successful, if not the most successful investor, definitely fund investor of our lifetime over the past century. They had a conversation, and as I mentioned that Buffett is actually a mentor to Gates. And they were both on the Charlie Rose show. I love that show. Definitely old school interview style, similar to my journalism style back when I was a journalist full time. And they had this great conversation about time management. And I would share the quote that Bill Gates said about how CEOs can master their time. So he says, "I had every moment packed thinking that was the only way you could do things. The fact is, he is in Buffett, is so careful about his time. He has days there's nothing going on." Again, Gates felt like he had to pack his time. He's an ambitious guy, always has been. He had to pack his schedule so tight to get everything done and make an impact in the world. Again, as I say in my new book, Build From Now to Nourish the World. Then he looked at Buffett's calendar, and Buffett is probably like 20 years his senior. And he realized he had full days that were just blank. And he learned a lot. And let's break down what he learned. Number one, and this is actually from Greg McKeown, who does an excellent book called Essentialism. It's actually on my shelf right over there. If you see the scribbles right behind my Bogota insignia over there, that's the scribbles right there. Essentialism by Greg McKeown. I highly recommend the book. And he talks about this concept. And he says the smartest CEOs, leaders, is number one, the smartest leaders multiply whatever they have to do by pi. Not food, patting my belly, not food, but pi is in the number, 3.14 over to infinity. In other words, if you have a 20-minute thing that you need to get done, assume it's going to take just over an hour. If you have a meeting that's going to be happening and it's an all-day meeting that's in, say, another city, then assume it's going to take 3 days. That buffer makes a lot of sense. Let's break that down a little bit. If you're having a 20-minute conversation, then if it's a business call, or in my case, a coaching call, I do one-on-one coaching similar to the conversation we're having now, then you have to prepare for that, right? So if you're preparing for that, 5, 10, 15 minutes on the front end, right? Then let's say you have your meeting. Cool, that was an amazing meeting. All right, how are we going to take action from here? What are we going to do? Oh, I need to write it down. Should we set up the next meeting? Where do we go from here? What do we do from now? 10, 15, 20 minutes on the end. Suddenly you have 45, 55, maybe even 60 minutes of your life taken up by that thing. That's the pie concept. If you're used to traveling, as I have, as a keynote speaker, as a journalist, or what have you, then you travel somewhere, particularly of a different time zone, and you're doing a red eye, or you're getting up super early in the morning. That day before you travel, physically there's some stuff that goes on, of course, because you're going to get tired and you're trying to get stuff together. You're physically packing whatever you need to do. But you're also wrapping up all your work because you know that next day you'll be indisposed, as they say, and you won't be available. So you're doing your phone calls, you're cramming everything in, you're doing your deadlines earlier and all that stuff. Then you do your event, whatever it is, conference, visiting family, whatever. And then you get back home, and then you're playing catch up. That's another day. One day times 3.14. It's a really simple, beautiful concept. It is so elegant. And that's something that it seems like Mr. Buffett practices, and that's something that Gates learned from him. The second thing that people do, aside from number one, multiplying whatever they're going to do by 3.14 by pi, the second thing that they end up doing is that they don't look at busyness as a badge of honor. Man, The Ultimate Bites as Entrepreneur, y'all helped make it a bestseller a few years ago, so thank you. I talk about this a lot in here. If you're having issues with busyness, that's the book to get. We look at busyness again as a badge of honor. I think it's for several reasons. I've done entire books about it, so I'll try to keep it brief. I think one of the main reasons is because we're afraid of that emptiness that comes from not having something that we're doing right now. Particularly here in American culture. Maybe it's different wherever you live. Here in American culture, and slightly more, or slightly similar in Canadian culture too, for me being there, particularly in southern Canada. We have the Vancouvers, the Torontos, the Windsors, that I'm all familiar with those cities. Over in, over in Ontario and so forth. Anyway, in all those different cities, Montreal, that's what I was trying to remember. I love Montreal, so I was trying to give them a shout out. Shout out to Montreal. But they have some of that energy too, where if you're not busy, then people don't feel as though that you're successful. That's part of the energy over here. I spent time over in Western Europe. They have at least when I was there, they had a different philosophy. You're doing the siestas, you're having 4-day work weeks in some cases, you're doing 4 weeks of vacation, hopping to another country and all that. It's a different vibe. But here in America, and to a lesser extent in Canada, you have this thing where busyness isn't just a badge of honor, but also your way of showing that you're progressive and that you're doing things. Bill Gates had that mentality. Here's one of the probably inarguably smartest people in the world on the public stage. And it wasn't until he connected with Warren Buffett, which I think he was probably older than me right now when he connected with Warren Buffett for the first time. And Warren's like, you can burn yourself out. Why are you so busy? And then he's talking to this guy who's like, who's doing amazing, intense work. 20 years his senior. And he has this buffer in there because he's not worried about other people thinking that he's a failure. He's not worried about profiling and saying, oh, I'm so busy. He doesn't worry about that. He doesn't worry about a lot of things, which is probably why he's so successful. But he's not worried about the public perception of things because he knows he's serving himself, his body, and his customers, as far as his fun, the best. That should be the priority, correct? Right? Sometimes that comes with being busy, and sometimes you're not as busy. Sometimes you need that space for thought to recharge. Again, I talk about that a lot in the Bites as Entrepreneur. I highly recommend that you check that out if you're struggling with trying to figure out why you're so busy and you want to slow down and figure out how to make an impact without killing yourself. Because if you kill yourself, then how much of an impact are you really making? So, off the top, if you're thinking about why leaders like Warren Buffett and now leaders like Bill Gates are able to be so wise and create so much of an impact, number one, they multiply their time in some fashion by 3.14. So whatever task they have, they're going to assume it's going to take 3 times as long, right? Really good cushion, particularly if you have kids like I do. We have a simple act like going to the grocery store. Before we were sheltering in place, going to the grocery store, you multiply it by 3. If you got kids, you already know what I'm talking about. So number one, multiplying by pi. Thank you for Greg McKeown for that beautiful concept, again, from the book, Essentialism, with the scribbles on there. Highly recommend it. Such a fascinating, fantastic book. Number two, they understand that being busy is not a badge. Do not wear it as a badge. That's not the way that it's set up. Your focus should be on serving your customer and taking care of yourself. That's it. You do not need to be ridiculously busy for that. You have busy seasons. Again, I wrote Build From Now during a pandemic. So I get busy seasons. It's going to be like that. But that should not be your badge of honor. That should not be the metric of how you create your stuff. If you want more insight into your resources and how you can maximize your focus, your agility, your time, and your energy, the 4 resources we all have, come on over to buildfromnowquiz.com. It's buildfromnowquiz.com. It's a free quiz. It's obviously based on my new book, Build From Now, How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. Again, it's free. It's multiple choice. 3-4 questions. I think it takes 2 minutes. Hundreds of y'all have taken it. I think we're approaching the thousands, which I'm so excited about. And it will give you the resources or give you insight into the resources that are already present in your life. You do not need to change your life to make an impact and change the world. That's not true. I'm living proof of that, but also in my books, I talk to a lot of people who are doing that as we speak. Come over to buildfromnowquiz.com. You'll get that same insight and learn more about the book and some of the work that I'm doing. Until next time, remember that you can always bring your worth and that you should always build from now. Take care.